Hey guys, what's up? In this video, you are gonna learn about terms related to networking. So, let's get started. The first term is client. What is a client? A client is a computer on the internet that requests services from the other computer or a server. For example, if you are searching on a Google about what is networking, then you are a client and the server is a server. Okay, you are requesting that server about that information, so you are a client. The number two term is, what is a server? Server is a computer that receives the request from the client computer and then processes and sends the output. Meaning, if you had requested what is networking, the server will look out in its database about what's the information available about what is networking, and then it processes that output to you. Okay. Number three is web page. A web page is a digital page or a document that is hosted on the internet. Meaning, when you search in Google what is networking, there might be some of the website which have information about what is networking. The server sends you the information that the topic is available in this type of website or web pages, and in that web pages there is information. So we call it as it is a digital page or a document that is hosted on the internet. Internet meaning it is stored in any of the server's database. Number four is, what is a website? A website is a collection of interconnected web pages designed for a certain purpose. Meaning it has a collection of web pages, meaning it has home, download sections, purchase sections, explore sections, and somewhat like that. It has a collection of web pages. Web pages is a single document or a page, but website is a collection of that web pages. Let's move on to our number 5, that is web portal. A web portal is a website or a server that offers a broad variety of resources such as email, search engines, forums, etc. A web portal is a website or a server which offers you a variety of resources such as email, search engines, forums, etc. Meaning, example, you can take the example of your Chrome. It is same as web browser, but it has somewhat a difference that it gives you a pitch of email and search engine and forums. Okay, it gives you a niche of identification. Example of email, search engines, forums. Let's move on to number 6, that is web browser. A web browser is a program or a software on a client computer which sends and receives the information from the web. Example, your Firefox, Google Chrome, etc. are the web browsers. I hope you know what is a web browser and some of the basic functionalities of the web browser. Moving on, let's move on to our number 7 term, that is, what is an URL? URL stands for Uniform Resource Location. It is a unique address of web page on the internet. I told you already that web page is a document or a digital page on an internet. Now, to access that internet, the server will give you a specific address or the location of that web pages on the internet, and from that location or the web pages you are able to locate that web page. Okay, that location is usually termed as URL. Now let's move on to our number 8 term, that is web server. Web server is a computer that stores websites on the internet and delivers the web pages to the client on request. It is also called as www server, meaning World Wide Web. Now the web server stores the data, or it usually stores the websites and web pages, and it stores in its database and delivers the web pages when a request is processed. Moving on to number 9, that is, what is a domain name? A domain name is the internet address of your website. All web pages of same website will have same domain name but different URL, meaning the domain name is same. Example, it is of if you name what is networking for your website, then it is your domain name. Usually you would see that https // and there will be some of the letters, meaning I took the example of what is networking, then that is what is networking.com would be the domain name of that website, and all the web pages interconnected to that website will have the same domain name but it will have different URL. Moving on, let's move on to our 10th term, that is domain name server. Domain name server is a server which keeps a list of domain name and its corresponding IP address so that it resolves the domain name to IP address when requested by a client. Now, if you search in your Firefox that google.com, usually the computers or the machines will not be able to understand your ASCII text meaning human readable format. It will ask to the domain name server what is the IP of this name you have specified. Here I took the example of google.com. It will ask with the domain name server, and the domain name server will resolve that named, and it will specify the certain IP address for that google.com server. Then the web browser will use that IP address and it will locate where that engine or what you are searching is located. Okay. Moving on, what is or who is Internet Service Provider, or commonly known as ISP? ISP is an organization that provides the service to the user to access the internet. Another name of ISP is IAP, that is Internet Access Provider. Usually the Internet Access Provider is has a long or it has a wide area network. Example you can take of Hathway, or in India it is Airtel, like that. They are all the internet service provider. I hope you understood by the name of it, that is ISP, Internet Service Provider. Moving on to our last term, that is bandwidth. Bandwidth is referred as the amount of information per unit time through a transmission media, like an internet connection. Transmission media meaning like an internet connection, or you can take the example of your Ethernet, Wi-Fi. Those are also the transmission media. Bandwidth is expressed in bits per second. Bandwidth, I think you have noticed somewhere that that is 1 megabytes per second, or 1 gigabytes per second, 1 kilobytes per second, like that. Those are all called as bandwidth, and bandwidth is known as the amount of information or the bits coming per second is known as bandwidth. That's it for this video, guys. In the next video, we will look out some more stuffs about networking. Until then, stay tuned.